set for our 10th game over the last 3 days here at WNCC's Cougar Palace. We just had a girls championship matchup with Sidney coming out on top over Gehring. So the Sidney Lady Raiders win the girls Western Conference title. Now time to settle it in the boys bracket with top seed Scottsbluff and 2 seed Sidney. Chris Cottrell alongside Jeff Kelly. And Jeff, these two teams probably kind of had an idea it was a collision course here for this matchup in this time slot today.
Well, I think in this type of a tournament, this is the kind of thing you want, the top 2 seeds matching up in this one. And as we said, this should be a good one here this afternoon as Scottsbluff takes on Sidney. And very impressed with Sidney. Like I said, I saw him earlier this season, but when you see him up this close, you can see that the physicality and the, as you said, the build up top and the build down low on the Sidney players like Kean Kaiser and some of those kids is really impressive. But then you're also impressed on the other side by the speed and the athletic ability from the Scottsbluff Bearcats.
Scottsbluff comes in with a record of 14-3, and Sidney right now at 13-4. Both of these teams have losses on the ledger to Ogallala, who is an absolute juggernaut right now in C1. Ogallala winning at home in overtime over Scottsbluff a couple of Tuesdays back. Sidney kind of had a rough patch in the middle of the year. Included in that stretch was a loss to Ogallala. Of course, they're led by their fine head coach in Austin Lewis, and Scott Golian now in his 9th season at the helm for the Bearcats. Should be a dandy here as we close things out for the weekend at WNCC's Cougar Palace. Western Nebraska Community College. It's always great to get these teams together up here for this tournament. We'll step away, and when we come back, we'll get you starting lineups and opening tip coming up.
Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Wesco, Papa Murphy's, Team Auto Center, Riverstone Bank, and Advantage Chiropractic. Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament.
Fans, this afternoon, the Western Conference Activities Directors would like to recognize Scottsbluff High School Activities Director Dave Hawksworth, who will be retiring at the conclusion of this school year. Mr. Hawksworth's career spans 31 years in Scottsbluff Public Schools, where he has served as an elementary and middle school physical education teacher, Dean of Students, Assistant Activities Director at Bluffs Middle School, and the last 10 years as Activities Director at Scottsbluff High School. In addition, Dave spent 17 years coaching football and both boys and girls basketball. In 2024, Mr. Hawksworth was named the NSI AAA Nebraska Athletic Director of the Year, and in 2023, he received the NSAA Distinguished Service Award. Dave has served as a member of the NSAA Class B Caucus and is currently working with a team of ADs and NSAA representatives to address competitive balance in the state of Nebraska. During his tenure as athletic director, Scottsbluff teams have earned 61 district titles and 3 state championships. The Scottsbluff and Gehring community has been awarded boys and girls Class B state basketball or golf championships by the NSAA, and Scottsbluff High School created an athletic hall of fame. Dave has been a tremendous advocate for Western Nebraska activities at the state level, and his leadership and active involvement in Western Conference and the NSAA are deeply appreciated. He will certainly be missed, but we know he looks forward to spending more time with his wife, Robin, and his family. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the rest of the Western Conference schools in honoring Dave Hawksworth and congratulating him on a well-deserved retirement. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Well said there as we get set for the boys championship matchup here at the Western Conference Tournament for Scottsbluff and Sidney. getting ready to go. It'll be the Red Raiders in the away red uniforms. We'll meet their starting lineup here to begin. They come in with a record of 13-4 off a 69-33 revenge type game against Alliance yesterday, while Scottsbluff took it to rival Gering 73-39. Landon Riddle, Alec Doty, Kean Kaiser, they'll be introduced here officially in a moment, but this is a starting lineup that features all 5 starters, Jeff, at 6 feet or taller. We talked about during the last game, very physical, strong, can really crash the glass, and now we'll officially meet these starters. 6'2" senior Reed Fiskus. In the backcourt, you've got 6' senior Landon Riddle. Lance Holly is a 6'2" junior. Alec Doty, a 6'2" junior. And Kean Kaiser, their outstanding post player, a Iowa State football recruit quite possibly. He's made multiple trips to Ames here in the last year. And he is a nightmare to deal with down low and on the glass. Rebounded outstanding last year in this game against Scottsbluff. Now let's meet the starters for the Bearcats, one of the top teams in Class B. First up off the bench is Riley Meininger. Meininger, a 6'1" junior, came into the weekend averaging 13. Des Smith, Scott Gullion told me he will get the defensive assignment on Kean Kaiser. Nate Kelly, the 6' junior. Trey Boswell has found the shooting touch of late. He's a 6'1" sophomore, and Kean Delgado rounds out the starting 5 for the Cats, the 6'4" junior. Opening tip coming up, brought to you by Papa Murphy's Pizza, 2801 Avenue B in Scottsbluff. Right now you can get that Heart Baker pizza, heat things up for Valentine's Day with that signature pepperoni or cheese pizza in the shape of a heart for $11. You can order online today. This is going to be a fun one, Jeff.
I think that matchup you talked about, Des Smith hitting the defensive assignment on Kean Kaiser. Des Smith giving up about 3 inches, but it's still going to be, I think, something to watch here in this one.
Ball is in the air. The final game of this year's Western Conference tournament is underway. Sidney controls the tip. Alec Doty being defended by Riley Meininger. There's Des Smith on Kean Kaiser. Kaiser works it into the paint, loses the basketball. It's going to be picked up by Doty. Finds Fiskus. They'll throw it back out on the perimeter. Landon Riddle's 3. Glances just off the front of the iron. Running down the rebound in the near side corner is Kean Delgado. Nate Kelly in transition. Crossover dribble. Takes it right to the rack. Misses the shot. Doty the rebound. Long outlet pass to Holly. And the layup, and Sidney is on the board. Lance Holly, big time leaping ability. Lays it in over the defender, and a 2-0 start for the Red Raiders. Can Sidney defend Scottsbluff in the half court and get back in transition? Trey Boswell misses his opening shot of the ball game. Scottsbluff 0 for 2 to start. Fiskus has it in the right corner. He'll dribble inside the arc, now behind the line. Kaiser, and it's Delgado on this trip down with Kaiser. Jumper for Riddle. Bounces around the iron, caroms off the glass and falls in. Landon Riddle with back-to-back baskets now for Sidney with Holly and Riddle as they lead it 4-0 early on. We've played 1 minute and 20 seconds. Chris Cottrell, Jeff Kelly with you on 107.3 The Trail and all our TV platforms. Des Smith off the bounce, gives to Kelly in the right corner. Nice defensive work by Doty. Nate Kelly got too deep under the rim, couldn't get the shot to go, and here comes Sidney. Holly, pull-up jumper in transition, won't go. Riddle, an offensive rebound in traffic. He'll put it back up, can't get it to go. Sidney hammering the glass. Holly has his second basket. Advantage Sidney early on the boards.
Just going to say that. Sidney doing a great job on the boards. Couple of opportunities there. Able to convert. Been early struggles for the Bearcats.
Boswell, quick shot. The 3 won't go, but there's an O board for Scottsbluff. Delgado can't get it to go. Boswell tracks it down. Riley Meininger doesn't shoot it. He'll get it back. Now he will. Cats on the board as Riley Meininger came into the weekend at 49% at the three-point line. 6-3 lead for Sidney. The entire Red Raiders team was in the building when Scottsbluff was at Ogallala a couple of weeks ago. Des Smith back on on Kean Kaiser. Doty to Riddle. We've got 15 on the shot clock. Riddle underhands the pass to Kaiser. Sidney staying patient on this possession. Again, Des Smith D'ing up Kean Kaiser. And he forces the turnover, and we're going to get a reach-in foul called against Sidney. That could be on Kaiser diving in late after Des Smith making life miserable on Kean Kaiser.
Some quick hands and the quickness from Des Smith causing some early problems. It'll be interesting to see who has the defensive assignment, I should say, on Nate Kelly, who struggled here through the first 3 minutes of this first quarter.
It's Alec Doty defending. They've got two defenders on Nate in the paint, and Doty comes up with the defensive rebound off another Nate Kelly miss here in the early going. 4:55 to play in the first quarter. Boys championship game for the Western Conference Tournament. Kaiser on the mid-post catch. He's double teamed. They'll throw it back outside. They'll give it right back to Kaiser. They'll shade Kean Kaiser. His fadeaway jump shot won't go. And here comes Scottsbluff. Kelly looking to push. Kaiser will pick him up. And an errant pass. Rare miscommunication there between Riley Meininger and Nate Kelly. As Kelly's pass went to the corner, Meininger must have been shifting towards the wing a little bit. And the turnover for the Bearcats. 4:33 to play here in the opening stanza. 6-3, Sidney has the lead. And the basketball.
Bring Isai Sabala in on the Bearcat side for Nate Kelly.
Kelly going to get a little bit of a breather and a talking to right now from head coach Scott Golian. Alec Doty in the paint. That little floater leaves the right hand and drops in. So Alec Doty gives Sidney the lead now by 5 at 8-3. Kelly will not sit for long. You can rest assured on that. Des Smith attacks the rim, goes right into the body of the defender, and Des Smith has his first basket. 8-5 Sidney here in the early going. A little over halfway through this opening quarter. Doty up top. Now Kaiser, poked away by Des Smith. He is an absolute defensive menace.
Giving up 3 inches to Kean Kaiser. Just as you said, Nate Kelly wasn't on the bench for long on the Bearcat side. He'll come in for Kean Delgado.
So Scottsbluff definitely loses some size with that substitution as Sabala stays out there as the lone non-starter on the floor. And it's Delgado on the bench. Fiskus drives it to the rim, can't get it, and Des Smith the board, and he'll take it himself. Des, the outlet pass on the bounce to Riley Meininger. Meininger's got 5 of the first 7 for the Bearcats, and Des Smith off to a great start here in this one, both ends of the floor. Alec Doty, that is a tough shot. The runner from about 10 feet out would not go. Meininger sizing up the defender. Now he leaves the bounce pass for Nate Kelly. Nate's reverse layup won't go. He smacks his hands in frustration, and it's Doty clearing and bringing it for the Red Raiders. We come up on 3 minutes to play in the first quarter. Fiskus on the catch, right side wing. Trey Boswell on Reed Fiskus. Handoff action to Alec Doty. Deep ball won't go. Kelly the rebound on the backside of the iron. Here comes Kelly, the junior guard. Paint touch, kick to the corner, and that is a great sign for Scottsbluff as Riley of the game. Scottsbluff on a mini run here to go into a 30-second timeout. And the Bearcats have the lead 10-8 here with 2:44 to play.
Yeah, just this game has been all it's cracked up to be, at least through these first 6 minutes. Both these teams have gone up and down the floor, and after an early lead by Sidney, Scottsbluff has come right back. And even though Nate Kelly a little bit frustrated, looks like Riley Meininger picking up a little bit of the slack on that end, but just so impressed with the defense. Des Smith on Kean Kaiser. He has not had any room to move once that ball comes into him. He's not able to do anything with it. And in a couple of instances, Des has got a hand in there to knock the ball away from him.
Kaiser's been on the perimeter a bit. He's had one mid-post touch. Very little, if anything, on the low block. And it's Smith guarding Kaiser down on the low block here as Sidney brings it into the half court. 2-point deficit for the Red Raiders. We'll visit with Sidney girls head coach Tyler Shaw at halftime of this one after Sidney took it to Gehring to win the girls title. Landon Riddle. Now it's Holly. Fiskus in the right corner. Shot clock at 10. Reed Fiskus with Kean Delgado on him. Now it's Kaiser. He'll get it to Doty. Fadeaway jump shot rims out. Another rebound for Des Smith. He'll quickly get it to Nate Kelly. Sidney back defensively. Kelly probing, nothing doing there. Finds Des. Meininger again. Won't go. Kaiser the rebound. Off the Meininger missed three-point attempt. A hot Riley Meininger from downtown today, or any day, is exactly what Scottsbluff is looking for. Trey Boswell will check in at the next dead ball. Fiskus sized up Delgado, really had nothing to work with. Now a mid-post catch, and really more at the elbow left side. Kaiser with two defenders on him. He'll get a hand. On Kaiser does is it possibly keeps Delgado out of more fouling situations, and they're going to need him on the floor to rebound. Kaiser off the mark on the first. Ryan Hinman will check in, the 6'5 senior. Meininger will get a little bit of a blow. Boswell's in as Delgado sits. Kaiser hits the second. It was this game a year ago where really Kean Kaiser burst onto the scene. Whoa. A near throwaway as Boswell wanted Smith, but Des had his head turned. They'll back off Des Smith. And Kaiser's defending Des Smith. Trey Boswell's three. He buries that one. First three of the game for Boswell. His first bucket. Third three of the opening quarter for the Bearcats. They extend to 13-9. Holly gets the side screen and roll action, and we're going to get a whistle and a push from behind against Trey Boswell.
Foul number 11, Trey Boswell is his first. Scottsbluff second. Into the Red Raiders.
57 seconds to play. Reese Dorsey comes in for Sidney. He's out there with Riddle, Doty, Cale Kaiser, and Kean Kaiser. Boswell, Kelly, Smith, Sabala, and Hinman right now. Errant inbounds pass. Nate Kelly the steal and the layup, and Nate's on the board. Scottsbluff extends to a 6-point lead. Bad turnover there for Sidney. The giveaway and the easy bucket on the offensive end for Scottsbluff. Missed shot for Doty. And Dorsey had an offensive rebound and then threw it away, trying to get it back on the perimeter to Landon Riddle. Third turnover of the quarter for Sidney. Scottsbluff gets it back, leading 15-9 with 35 seconds to play. 2-second differential between shot and game clock. Kean Kaiser backs well off of Des Smith. Nate Kelly with Dorsey on him. Nate will dribble out near the midcourt stripe. Nate moves it from right to left on the bounce. Shot clock at 10. They'll look to go now. Ryan Hinman comes up to set an on-ball screen. They switch. They'll kick it to Des Smith. His three left it too short. A little bit of a line drive three-point ball out of the left hand of Des Smith, and the ball goes out of bounds. 3.8 to play. And nobody back here to, oh no, never mind. Doty had gone to retrieve the basketball. So Riddle inbounds to Alec Doty. And Doty will have to fire a three-quarter court heave. And the buzzer sounds. 1 quarter complete. Scottsbluff leading Sidney 15-9 on the West Coast scoreboard.
By Legacy Co-op, Bunkhouse Trailer Sales, WNCC, Russell's Automotive, and Reds. At Morrill County Community Hospital, they provide top-notch care with compassion and expertise. From routine checkups to advanced surgeries, their dedicated team is here for you 24/7. With state-of-the-art technology and a patient-first approach, they ensure you and your loved ones receive the highest quality care. Because at Morrill County Community Hospital, your health is their priority. Visit Morrill County Community Hospital today in Bridgeport. Morrill County Community Hospital. Exceptional care right here at home.
15-9 Scottsbluff. Chris Cottrell with Jeff Kelly. Jeff, Sidney started fast. Scottsbluff finished strong in the first quarter.
They go on a 5-0 run to end up that first quarter, and things getting untracked a little bit for Nate Kelly after he struggled a little bit in that first quarter, but Riley Meininger, picking up the slack on the Bearcat end.
Kelly started off the ball here to begin the quarter, comes and gets it. Hinman on the high post catch, back to Des Smith. Boswell, open look. He is in the gym range and left that one off the right side of the iron. But another rebound for Des Smith. Des a little wild on that pass with the turnovers. Just the second turnover of the game for Scottsbluff. Meanwhile, Sidney turns it over for a fourth time.
Things a little bit frenetic on both ends of the floor on those possessions.
Scottsbluff will inbound, offensive end along the baseline. It's Boswell throwing it in near the corner. Kelly on the left wing, Hinman out high. They'll reverse it right side. Now Boswell, shot fake, drives it inside the paint, covers the ball up, can't bank it in. Kaiser tipped it, and then grabbing the rebound off the floor is Alec Doty. Alec Doty to Landon Riddle. Of course, Riddle's older sister, the outstanding Reese Riddle, and Alec Doty. Just another in the long line of the Doty star athletes at Sidney. Eric, Isaac, and now Alec. Kaiser, entry pass down low to Fiskus. Good job by Ryan Hinman to stay on the floor, and then he rebounds the miss from Fiskus.
Couldn't ask for better defense on that possession from the Bearcats.
Minute 20 gone by in the second quarter. 15-9 Scottsbluff. Nate Kelly looking to explode to the bucket. Fade away shot in the paint for Nate Kelly. And that pushes the lead to 8 at 17-9. Sidney has been ice cold here for a long stretch.
Yeah. They need a basket right here.
Boswell pushes out on Holly. Now Doty on the catch. Meininger. Tough shot. We're going to get a whistle, and a foul is going to go against Riley Meininger, trying to keep Alec Doty away from the basket on that dribble drive.
Sidney hasn't scored since it was 10-9 back in the mid-first quarter.
Doty at the line. Snaps that cold spell for the Raiders with a free throw make. Delgado and Caleb Berta have checked in. Berta back in for the first time. Delgado back in as Hinman and Des Smith will get a breather. And Kean Kaiser will take a seat for Sidney. They're out there with Riddle, Holly, Doty, Fiskus, and Cale Kaiser. Couple of makes for Alec Doty. It's 17-11. Riley Meininger out high. Kelly. Now Boswell. Boswell. Looked like he was going to blow by Riddle. Instead, it's Nate Kelly blowing by his defender and able to get it to the right side of the basket. And the layup for Nate Kelly starting to turn his game up a notch. Lead back to 8 at 19-11. 5:40 to play in the half. Holly gives it to Cale Kaiser. Meininger blocks his shot. Ball loose, and Kean Delgado comes up with it. Scottsbluff. A bucket here, I think we'd see a timeout from Austin Lewis. Kelly on the crossover, attacks the rim, had his shot blocked, but a foul in the process, and Nate Kelly will get 2 shots at the free throw line.
With Kean Kaiser on the Sidney bench, Des Smith also on the Scottsbluff bench, so both of them getting a rest here in this second quarter.
Little cat and mouse game for the two head coaches as Nate Kelly came into the weekend shooting 85% at the free throw line. He's got 5 in the quarter. He's up to 7. Meininger had 8 for the Cats in the opening quarter. Next on the way for Kelly, got them both. And Austin Lewis will take the timeout. 5:22 to play in the first half. Cats lead Sidney by 10 on the West Coast scoreboard.
Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Consumers Cooperative Federal Credit Union, Western Nebraska Regional Airport, Regional West, and Pipeworks Plumbing.
Can be found at Western Sleep Medicine in Gering. Since 2006, Western Sleep Medicine has offered the lowest cost sleep testing either in their independent sleep laboratory or the privacy of your own home. You have control over your health care and your out-of-pocket cost. All insurance is accepted for a much lower cost than the regional option. If you need a sleep study, ask for Western Sleep Medicine. They've helped thousands of people over the years and want to help you. Western Sleep Medicine.
Out of the timeout, a near turnover turns into a basket underneath for Alec Doty and the Red Raiders. They're back to within 8, 21-13 Scottsbluff. Trey Boswell, nifty ball handling, misses the shot with a runner off one leg. Tracking down the rebound is Holly, and here comes Sidney. Doty into the front court, has it for the Red Raiders. Right side, Riddle. Shot fake behind the three-point line, gives to Fiskus. Hinman will check in at the next dead ball for Scottsbluff. Cale Kaiser gives to Alec Doty. Jab steps against Riley Meininger. Fiskus, elbow extended left side. Fiskus, some contact. They'll play through. Good defensive work there from Kean Delgado. He rebounds the miss and seeks out Nate Kelly. Finds him, and here comes Scottsbluff. Wide open three. Riley Meininger. That wide open for Meininger. You can chalk that up.
You can't leave him that wide open.
11-point lead, 24-13. Biggest of the game right now for Scottsbluff. Danger zone time here for Sidney already at the halfway point of the second quarter. They have got to stay within striking distance, or Scottsbluff can just absolutely put a hurt on an opponent when they start to really get going. And they're forcing tough shots from Sidney. Scottsbluff playing really good defense here in this first half. Kean Delgado off the miss, caught the outlet pass, didn't get the shot to go, but a transition opportunity leads to free throws for the 6'4" junior Kean Delgado.
On Doty, we've got Kean Kaiser set to come in on the Sidney side, and right there for the Bearcats, Des Smith at the scorer's table also.
Delgado, a 63% free throw shooter, able to knock down the first. It'll be Bird and Boswell to the bench with Sabala and Des Smith back in. Hinman will come for Delgado if Kean knocks down this foul shot. He does. Now a 13-point Scottsbluff lead. The Scottsbluff boys, really the big bad wolf of the West here in this tournament, and Sidney trying to stay with them here and stick around in this half.
Kean Kaiser picks up the foul on Des Smith. That'll be his first, but he took it aggressively to the basket that time.
Doty inbounds it to Kaiser. Smith with a hand immediately in his face. Doty leans in off the heel of the iron, and Doty is struggling right now, and we're going to have a push, I think, called against Ryan Hinman after the shot hit the back of the rim. Third team foul on the Cats. First personal on Hinman. Cale Kaiser behind the college three-point line, slips, nearly lost the basketball. Doty picks it up, and it's Kean Kaiser. Kaiser, and he walked with the basketball. More great defensive work from Scottsbluff. You had Smith and then plenty of help defenders always ready and waiting to help out if needed on Kaiser.
I think Kean just a little bit frustrated. The last two times he's touched the ball, he's really gone aggressively towards the basket.
26-13 with just under 3 minutes to play in the first half. It has been an offensive struggle right now for Sidney. Des Smith, some penetration with that left hand, finds an open shooter in the right corner. Sabala's three. off the mark. That leads to a transition opportunity, but Doty's pass too tall for Landon Riddle, who can really get up. So that's tough to do. Throw it over Riddle's head. That's the 6th turnover committed by Sidney.
May have been better served on that one on bounce passes. That was where nobody could corral it.
Isai Sabala will bring the ball into the front court for the Bearcats. To Kelly. Boswell will check in at the next dead ball. Nate Kelly feeds Sabala. Sabala dribbles out of the right corner into the paint, up and in for 2. Now the chance for a 3-point play for Isai Sabala. So you're at Sidney Friday?
At Sidney Friday, and then the Bearcats. The Bulldogs have Chase County at home on Saturday.
So I must be at, I knew it was Sidney Alliance weekend. I thought it was Sidney first, but it must be Alliance Friday, and then hosting Sidney Saturday. At the line, Sabala. Can't get the free throw to go, but right now it is all Bearcats. They lead it by 15 points, 28-13. Couple of substitutions here, and for Scottsbluff on the floor, Berta, Des Smith, Boswell, Kelly, and Meininger. Alec Doty will bring it into the front court methodically for Sidney. Fiskus up high, Kaiser at the foul line, and he's pushed from behind by Des Smith. And to a point, I think some of that physicality and even a couple of fouls is fine. You just always want to remind him, I'm here and I am not going anywhere.
Des Smith played pretty clean in that first quarter, picked up 2 quick ones here in this second quarter.
Kaiser has scored just 1 point so far in the first half. Able to knock down the first. He'll get a second, 28-14. Scottsbluff doubling up the Red Raiders. Kaiser rattles in the second. He's got 3. Everything has come at the foul line, and they have made life difficult on him on the offensive end. 13-point lead in the basketball for Scottsbluff. Riley Meininger had the hot hand early. Kelly scored 6 here in this second quarter. It's Meininger dribbling inside the arc. Boswell on the catch right wing. Kelly has it high right. Now Meininger. Deep 3 ball over a defender, and that one rims out. Fiskus with the rebound. Reed Fiskus will bring it himself. Fiskus, no one stops the basketball, and Fiskus with the finger roll for the basket for Sidney. 4 quick points for the Red Raiders. They're within 11. Doty defends. Nate Kelly. Nate got him in the paint. Fadeaway shot on the turnaround jumper, and Nate Kelly now in double figures with 10. Minute and 15 seconds to play in the first half. It's Landon Riddle unable to score, driving to the rim. Here comes Trey Boswell. Boswell and his pass stolen by Kean Kaiser. Just the 3rd turnover of the first half committed by Scottsbluff. Sidney gives it right back to him, their 7th.
Scott Gillian wanting his Bearcats slow things down just a little bit here as we count it down before the halftime break.
Boswell has it up top. Now Kelly. High right. They'll run. Trying to free up Caleb Berta, who's a 3-point target as well. Kelly with 8 on the shot clock. Spins away from Dorsey. Hits Berta. 3 ball on the way. Caleb Berta knocks it down. First basket of the game for Berta. Biggest lead today for Scottsbluff at 33-17. Reed Fiskus. Quick release, it won't go. Berta, good box out and rebound. 15 seconds to play. Boswell does a good job to bring the basketball back out and ensure Scottsbluff gets the final look here in the half. Boswell crossover dribble. Boswell cut off, and his pass was stolen just before the buzzer sounds. At halftime, it is Scottsbluff in control in the boys' championship game. They lead Sidney 33-17 on the West Coast scoreboard.
Live Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Allo, A. Elliott Law, Travis Hawk Shelter Insurance, Dustin White Irrigation, and B&C Steel.
Halftime score for our boys championship game today at WNCC at Scottsbluff in control, leading Sidney 33-17. Earlier this afternoon in the girls' title game, Sidney with a convincing win over Gearing by the final of 60-38. We visit with a victorious Sidney girls head coach Tyler Shaw, 19 years at the helm for the Lady Raiders, another Western Conference title. I guess I'll just start with overall thoughts on the way your team played today, just kind of methodically did your thing and pulled away.
Just played hard for 4 quarters, tried to just stay in it for 4 quarters and just give great effort on the defensive end and, you know, take the right shots at the right time and crash the boards on the offensive end and get some putbacks.
One thing that's been a staple for you and your program over the years is the amount of girls you play throughout a ball game. 5 over the boards, hockey-style substitutions at times.
I did hear over the boards last night.
You're playing 11 consistently this year, but today it looked like the substitution patterns changed a little bit. Some 1-for-1s, some 2-for-2s, not as much of the 5-for-5s. Probably just a little respect for the opponent, big game situation, and as you get late in the year, you want to kind of narrow it down a little bit, don't you?
And honestly, we need to see different combinations. We have to mix groups a little bit and see them in, you know, we can see it in practice, but, you know, when you put people in the stands, it gets a little bit different. So seeing some different mixed groups and just trying to be creative and flexible as the game goes and how the game dictates, and that's what we're trying to do.
A state championship game appearance a year ago. How much fun was that for you, the staff, the team, and the town?
It was, it's hard to describe. It was a great moment, some great kids, great people. Town really came around, rallied around us. We always do a pretty good job with showing in Lincoln. We've got kids and former people who lived in Sidney all over the place, and it was really awesome to see everybody kind of come together for that weekend of, you know, where it was pretty magical. It felt magical, and it was just great.
What's in the water in Sidney to keep pumping out girls basketball, not just basketball players, girls athletes, man?
Well, I mean, like, I think, I have no idea. I mean, I honestly think that we have kids that care, we have parents that care. Our youth programs are, people take care of the youth programs pretty well, and they try to get a lot of involvement in that. And maybe just, I'm kind of hoping, you know, little girls watching Lady Raiders play for year in, year out, and hoping that they can get on the court one of those days is one of those things that just kind of continues for those kids.
When I want to ask you about the boys program for
Yes.
a moment. Eric Cole is back and on your bench.
Yeah.
When Eric left Sidney, it was kind of a seminal moment. Like, how are they going to replace Eric Cole? Austin Lewis has done one heck of a job year in and year out. What's it like working with Austin?
Well, he's our athletic director now, so you know, I probably have to bug him more than he probably likes about different things, but it's been good. It's been a good. Geez, how many years has it been? You have to help me out.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I feel like it's like, is it 7, 8? I don't. It's all a blur to me. I was telling somebody the other day. It's like I have these chunks of time that I can remember. You know, it's like Taz Urig, and then after Taz to like 14, and then 14 to 20, and I just have, I don't know. I just am old, man. But no, it's great. It's great work. I mean, at Sidney High, just with a lot of support from everybody around, and he obviously is in a championship game. So, you know, they're playing a pretty good opponent today that's kind of clicking right now, but we'll see if we come out in this first 4 minutes of the second half and see if they can, you know, just cut this baby in half.
All right, let's get back to some of your individual players. We were talking earlier. I am a huge Reagan Nesbitt fan.
Yeah.
What she does on the floor for you.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe this weekend could have been for this season. She's just a sophomore, a little bit of a coming out party for her.
Well, you know, we hope so. You know, we have a tremendous amount of, you know, just confidence in Reagan and what she can do on the court. It was nice to see her come out and play aggressively on the offensive end, and you know, defensively, I don't know how many rebounds you had her for, but it always feels like it's a decent number when she's out there crashing the boards, offensively and defensively. So she made some stuff happen there. That one little, it was about a 3-minute stretch where she got some buckets, ran the court through a ridiculous pass, bounce pass through, you know, 2 people that got them through a score. So it was a good run for Reagan today.
Even there's times she'll have the ball and she'll look at a teammate and give a little head nod, like,
yeah.
hey, you got to get going here. One
Yeah.
time today she did that and then slipped a bounce pass the opposite way. Those type things you don't see it all the time at the high school level.
No, you don't. We're you know, like I said, we're happy she plays for us, and you know, she's just going to continue to grow, and as she gets more and more confident and become the great player she's going to become.
You mentioned just where does time go? Kayla Westby's a senior.
I bet it feels like she's been out there forever. I mean, she has been out there for 4 years, you know, but yeah, she's a senior. Wow, like, you know, it seems like yesterday her and Carly and Ryan and you know, Ashlyn, Zoe, all those guys, Jordan, who's sadly not playing with us this year because of the injury. It seems like yesterday they were a little freshmen. It's crazy.
All right, so we'll get you out of here, start to wrap up with Tyler Shaw. What do you guys have to do between now and the end of the year to become the best team you can be?
Well, there's a plethora of things. I think that we can do little things we can do better. Continue to play great defense, continue to share the ball, pay attention to our shot selection, and, you know, just, I know it sounds so stupid, but, like, get stops and get good shots. I know it's a cliche. I'm just cliche.
Has the coach ever said that before?
A few times, yeah. What do you want to do? We want to get great shots. We want to execute. I could just come on here and rip off 10 minutes of cliches and say nothing, but you know, hopefully we can do that. And, you know, we don't know which of the 11 it's going to be on any given night, but we're just hoping that there's like about 6 of them that are doing it. So,
longtime friend of the program, if you will, the great head coach for the Sidney girls, Tyler
wow.
Shaw. Coach, hey, thanks for coming by.
Thanks.
Congrats on another tournament championship here this weekend, and we'll see you next weekend
thanks, man.
as well.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
See you guys. Right. Thank you.
33-17 here at halftime of our boys championship game. Scottsbluff up by 16 points on Sidney.
Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Wesco, Papa Murphy's, Team Auto Center, Riverstone Bank, and Advantage Chiropractic. Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Legacy Co-op, Bunkhouse Trailer Sales, WNCC, Russell's Automotive, and Reds.
(33-17), Scottsbluff leading Sidney in our boys championship game. Jeff, Tyler Shaw, just, it doesn't matter the year. It always looks the same, and it always looks good for the Sidney girls.
Well, he's found a formula that works for him, and he just continues to do the same thing every year. It doesn't matter if he's got a Reese Riddle or who he has in his program. They all just seem to fall into line. They all just continue to do the same thing every year. But I thought it was interesting, as you talked to him about his substitution pattern that we talked about. Instead of 5 in, 5 out, he kind of went 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 later in that game against Sidney. And we'll see if that continues next Friday when Gehring goes back down to Sidney.
And I think he hit the nail on the head. All the little girls that are in the gym each and every night watching, I guarantee you, they head home in the car, head to get some ice cream after a ball game, and they tell their moms and dads, that's going to be me in about 5 or 6 years. So the train just keeps heading down the tracks each and every season with the Sidney girls basketball program led by head coach Tyler Shaw. Well, we get back to our boys championship game, 33-17, and as Coach Shaw said, these Sidney boys are going to need to get off to a nice start here and cut into this lead to build some confidence. Offensively, just a major struggle in the first half.
It really was. They had a little bit of a quick start, and then they kind of stalled out later in the first quarter into the second quarter.
Landon Riddle drives it into the paint. Forced into a tough shot, but there was some contact. And I believe that's going to go against Kian Delgado. Kian, that'll be his third personal. And that'll put Riddle at the line. Sidney is a team 5 for 6. Make it 6 for 7. They have yet to knock down a 3-point basket in this game. Riddle's got 3. Off the mark on that one. Tipped up and in by Kian Kaiser. And his first basket comes off an offensive rebound tip-in. He's got 5 points, 3 at the line. Riley Meininger explodes right to the rim. And Riley Meininger has 13. He had 11 at the break. Nate Kelly had 10, the top 2-point getters for Scottsbluff. And a quick basket after the Kaiser tip-in on this end for Sidney. Riddle, now Doty. And there's the first three-point make of the game for Sidney, and it comes from Landon Riddle, upping his point total to 6 with 50 seconds gone by here in the third. Nate Kelly. Bounce pass to Delgado, defender reaching around the backside that time. Fiskus pokes it away from behind.
Kian Kaiser with only 5 points. Of course, a tough defense by Des Smith. We'll see what adjustments Sidney's made here start the third quarter.
Nate Kelly drives it into the paint. Count it, and a foul, scoring it over Kian Kaiser. So hard to keep Nate Kelly from getting where he wants to go in the lane.
He needs to go, and after that rough start, he could have gotten frustrated and kind of hung his head a little bit. He didn't do that, and he's really come on for Scottsbluff in the second quarter and into this third quarter.
And really also tip your cap to Scott Gullion, who gave him the early hook, brought him to the sideline, and don't know what was said, but I'm sure the gist of it was, hey, let's just take a deep breath, calm down, and go play your game. And Nate's done exactly that since re-entering. 15-point lead, 38-23. Mid-post catch. Again, Smith pushing Kaiser away from the basket. And a near throwaway. It's Fiskus down low. And another near turnover. Doty steps into the 3. Off the mark. Fiskus got fouled from behind on the shot by Nate Kelly. Everything has been so difficult looking on the offensive end, and nothing has come easy for the Red Raiders today.
On that last Sidney possession, when the ball went into Kaiser, you saw the good defense from Des Smith as he came into it and those 2 hands went up.
And then at the line, Fiskus can't get it to go. Fiskus with 2 points. Back-to-back misses at the line for Reed Fiskus. Here comes Scottsbluff, up by 15. Kelly backs down. Put it up off the square, thinking might have got away with shuffling the feet. Instead, he grabs an offensive rebound and scores it with bodies and hands all around him. He's fouled, and Kelly will get another opportunity for a 3-point play.
Foul on Reed Fiskus, his first, Sidney's second. Kelly to shoot
In the second half last year in this championship game against Sidney, it was all Nate Kelly. And it is shaping up that way once again here as he's got 6 of Scottsbluff's first 8. And the lead now has ballooned to 18 points. All Bearcats in this boys championship game. Landon Riddle off the iron. Offensive board. Doty Deep three out of the right corner. Boswell up high for the rebound. Here comes Trey Boswell. That pass was tipped and then stolen away by Kean Kaiser. Des Smith has defended Kaiser as good as you possibly can so far today. Holly gets it to Riddle. Kaiser. 2 defenders near, it won't go, but he'll get some free throws. If it's on Delgado, it's number 4. It is. That'll get Ryan Hinman up off the bench. He'll come in for Delgado. It looks like Isai Sabala also set to check into the game. And Kaiser hits the first. It'll be Boswell heading to the bench as Sabala's into the game. Sidney girls, a Western Conference title. Earlier this afternoon, the Alliance, or the Gehring boys beating Alliance in the 3rd place game on the boys' side. Kaiser hits both. And the Scottsbluff girls, definitely seems like a while ago. Today they won the consolation 3rd place game over North Platte. That one tipped off at 11 as we come up on 5 o'clock here, 20 till. Smith with the errant pass, trying to get it to Ryan Hinman. 41-25. Scottsbluff has a 16-point lead, and frankly, Jeff, the way this game is going, it's really kept the crowd enthusiasm at bay.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a lot of cheering. I've heard a lot of officials in the stands in this one, but
so it's a day that ends in Y.
Yeah, there you go.
Kean Kaiser, an air ball on the fadeaway jump shot. And here comes Scottsbluff back on the offensive end. Nate Kelly doing his thing, working his way into the paint. We'll get a hold called against Sidney down low. Kelly getting anywhere he wants to. Dribble penetration. That foul goes against Landon Riddle. That'll be Riddle's second.
3rd on the Red Raiders.
Sidney has authored one of the more disappointing losses in Coach Golyon's career as they won a sub-district championship at Scottsbluff. Block shot on the drive. It falls right to Des Smith. And Smith lays it in. Holly, now Doty. Baseline right. Up top now. Kenobi. Cash Kenobi's checked in. He had a great 4th quarter yesterday against Alliance, just a sophomore. He looks like he could have a bright future in front of him. Boswell couldn't get that shot to go. Had some numbers, forced it up, and it would not drop. Lance Holly, air ball, left that one short on the 3. Here comes Scottsbluff's Riley Meininger. He'll stop and pop in the lane. Things are very ragged right now. Sabala to a jump stop. Got him for the walk.
Into the game for the Bearcats,
Caleb Berta will check in, replacing Des Smith. So give you a little lineup reset here for Scottsbluff. It's Boswell, Berta, Meininger, Kelly, and Sabala. Holly, Kaiser, Kenobi, Riddle, and Doty handles the basketball. Meininger with that assignment.
See if Sidney tries to go more inside to Kean Kaiser with Des Smith out of the game.
Kean Kaiser will shoot the triple. That's off the iron. He knew that was off the minute it left his hand. Started making his way back down towards the defensive end. And off the missed shot, we have a whistle and a foul going against Scottsbluff.
Foul number 3, Isai Sabala, his
first personal on Isai Sabala. 43-25. Lob pass comes inbound. How about the hop shown there by Holly?
Man.
Riddle in the left corner. Landon Riddle. 25 on the shot clock. Doty sizing up Meininger. Nothing there. Kenobi with Berta defending. Now Riddle. And nice find by Landon Riddle on the bounce pass to a cutting Lance Holly. Holly is definitely, it's not been a great game for Sidney, but Holly's been very active. Meininger, pull-up jumper inside the three-point line. Karams off the iron, and here comes Sidney's Kean Kaiser. Kaiser throws a pass off Isai Sabala's back. It bounces up, and Sabala comes up with the steal. And Berta on the other end hits the tray. That's his second three, and Scottsbluff punishing Sidney right now, 46-27. Timeout on the floor. Bearcats lead the Red Raiders by 19 on the West Coast scoreboard.
Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Consumers Cooperative Federal Credit Union, Western Nebraska Regional Airport, Regional West, and Pipeworks Plumbing.
To other companies. Allo's next-gen firewalls have allowed us to tie 6 physical locations together along with numerous remote employees to produce and collaborate and generate content for our local radio group. It is very important for Nebraska Rural Radio Association to have the best in internet and phone service. We rely upon that every single day. Allo provided me with a solution that fit our needs. They have a quality product, great technical support, and a local presence in the
Well, Jeff, when games live up to the hype, we like to mention it. It's probably also fair to say this one has not lived up to the pregame billing. It's been all Bearcats.
No, probably two of the best teams in the Nebraska Panhandle, and you can tell that Scottsbluff is just a couple of notches above Sidney.
On the drive is Kyle Jaggers, a 6-foot sophomore. And then that makes me want to say, how good is Ogallala?
Oh, my gosh. And that's still a team that Gehring has to play this year on the boys' side.
They've got a double-digit win over Sidney, an overtime home win over Scottsbluff. 2:13 to play here in the third quarter. 46-29 is the score. Kelly, the outside shot won't go. Offensive rebound, the putback for Trey Boswell. The mini flex alongside Ryan Hinman for the high five, and Boswell with a chance for a 3-point play at the line. Trey struggled a little bit today, had come in with a hot shooting hand, and he'll have a shot for an old-fashioned 3-point play. Nate Kelly has 16 points, and he'll get a breather with 2:07 to go in the third quarter.
It's a good play by Boswell. He kind of had lost his balance and got the ball and put it up all in one motion.
Boswell converts at the line. He's got 6, and it is a 20-point lead, 49-29. Doty with a leaner in the paint, barely draws iron. Deep ball, left side wing, knocking that one down is Cash Kenobi. This kid's got a future. Had 10 yesterday in the fourth quarter, including a throwdown. I think we had 3 dunks here at the Palace for our Friday action. Kenobi one of those. Holly the other, and Riley Meininger. Boswell, a spinner on the drive, will get a whistle and a foul off the miss. I think that's going to go against Ryan Hinman. Big fella for Scottsbluff. Personal. Minute and 28 seconds to play. Bonus time for Sidney, and that'll put Kyle Jaggers at the line. First from Jaggers. That misses badly. Caleb Berta will head to the bench. He's knocked down 2 3-point shots today. Des Smith comes back in. Des Smith is a fun watch, isn't he?
He is. He can get up and down the floor, and of course, as strong as he is, he's able to do anything he needs to underneath the basket.
1 of 2 at the line for Jaggers. Under 90 seconds to play in the third quarter, and a game being dominated by the Bearcats, looking to go to 15-3. Losses on the year only have come to Ogallala, Omaha Skutt, and Crete. Some heavy hitters from across the state. Austin Lewis, the Sidney coach, told me he thinks Ogallala will win the state title either this year or next or both.
I was going to say it could be a back-to-back deal with what
No
I've heard
seniors.
about Ogallala. Yeah, no seniors, so
under a minute to play here in the third quarter. 16-point lead for Scottsbluff, 49-33. Alec Doty. They slip it down low in traffic. Jaggers fouled. The amount of free throws now adding up for Sidney. A little frustration showing for Scott Gullion across the gym. Jaggers back to the line. He's 1 for 2. He's got all 3 of his points here in the fourth quarter. Calmly knocks in the first. Now a 15-point Bearcat lead. Second one did not hit the rim. Clipped the left side of the glass, so that'll give it back to Scottsbluff. Boswell, Hinman, Sabala, Meininger, and Smith. For Sidney, it's Dorsey, Jaggers, Kenobi, Fiskus, and Doty. Shot clock at 20. Third quarter game clock now at 26 seconds. 9-second differential. Shot clock under 10. Boswell on the drive. Off the miss. Tipped by Hinman. He wanted a foul. Here comes Sidney. Shot clock turned off. 10 seconds to play in the third quarter. Doty to Jaggers. Back to Alec Doty. He'll drive it. Little baseline floater. Soft touch, it falls for Alec Doty. And at the end of 3, Sidney has gotten a little bit closer as they trail Scottsbluff. It's Bearcats in front, 49-36. They lead by 13 on the West Coast scoreboard.
Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Allo, A. Elliott Law, Travis Hawk Shelter Insurance, Dustin White Irrigation, and B&C Steel.
In a place where we could enjoy our golden years.
Well, Sidney has cut the deficit to 13. Scottsbluff leading 49-36 as we get set for the start of the fourth quarter. Bearcats will begin with the basketball with their original starting 5 on the floor, and Sidney will do the same. If you're Sidney, you have to start with a stop and a basket and go from there. Kelly to Meininger. Now Des Smith holds. Smith to Boswell, well behind the college three-point line. That's still within his range. Boswell drives it into the paint, cut off. Now gets it to Nate Kelly with a paint touch. That'll make the defense shift. They struggled to get back in position as Nate Kelly dribbled it to the top of the key. Sidney did not get the stop as Nate Kelly drilled one from downtown. He's got 19 points. Meininger next with 13 points. In the paint, Reed Fiskus gets 2 for Sidney. He's got 4. Smith will bounce it to Boswell. Quick shot on the way. Boswell with a bucket. Trey Boswell connects. Back-to-back trays for Scottsbluff to begin the fourth quarter. Holly. And it'll be Alec Doty. Too strong, but an offensive rebound for Kean Kaiser. Turnover committed by Sidney. That is their 10th. Meininger can't make it 3 straight trips with threes. Offensive rebound, though. Des Smith had his shot blocked by Kaiser. It fell right to Kean Delgado. And Delgado will get 2 shots at the line.
Mentioned earlier, this game really hasn't lived up to its billing, but both these teams really have been sloppy at different points in this contest.
Delgado converts. He's got 3 points. Couple of makes there for Kean Delgado. So he's got 4 points in this one. Fiskus, high post catch at the right elbow. Now it's Doty. Doty has taken some tough shots today.
He did not have very many clean looks at the basket today.
Boswell hangs, misses, board. Trey Boswell with 2 more. Starting to come alive as he's into double figures with 11. .5:43 to play. Shot clock at 20 for the Sidney Red Raiders. Scottsbluff's lead is 21. Make it 19 on the Kean Kaiser take to the rim. He's got 2. 9 points in the game.
Really the first time that Kean Kaiser had an easy path to the basket with the defense from Des Smith.
Nate Kelly up top. Looked like we might see some dribble handoff action, and then that's the problem. Kelly gets into the paint, all the help defense arrives, and Kean Delgado left with about an easy of a bucket as you're going to find. .50 coming up on the 5-minute mark. We go under 5 minutes. Kaiser will shoot the 3 over Des Smith. Off the iron and glass, Boswell the rebound. Boswell hesitates, and we're going to get a hand check foul called against Sidney.
Foul on number 10, Lance Holly, his first.
Lance Holly called for the foul.
Second team foul.
His first personal, second team foul on Sidney in the quarter. In a way, Jeff, a Scottsbluff boys Western Conference title and Sidney girls title kind of means all's right with the world.
Yeah, that's definitely both teams with pretty convincing wins, too.
And Trey Boswell knocks down another. With it is Kaiser. Now Doty. Tough contested 3. And Alec Doty gets that one to drop. That's 11. Pitch back, Boswell, deep ball, got it. Trey Boswell cooking here in the fourth quarter. That's his third 3 of the quarter. He's got 4 trays in the game. In this fourth quarter alone, 11 points. That gives him 17 for the ball game. And I have Scottsbluff with 10 3-pointers.
No, he's just kind of taken over this fourth quarter, and this fourth quarter's kind of been up and down from both these teams. Really not a lot of offensive sets being run by either team in this fourth quarter.
Love the pitch back play. It's a Scottsbluff staple. I remember it most with Josiah Diolis on the pitch back to Dawson Moore, if you want some blast from the past right there. 67-43, all Bearcats here on their way to another Western Conference Tournament Championship. We come up on the midway point of the fourth quarter. That was a good offensive set, and a missed shot from close range. Kaiser got it to Fiskus, and then Riddle hitting the offensive glass. He's fouled, and if that's Delgado, that'll be number 5. I believe it is. So Kean Delgado fouls out.
Also number 24, Kean Delgado.
He finishes with 6 points in what will turn out to be another Scottsbluff win. They'll move to 15-3. Coach Golian told me earlier this week that it was looking like as long as teams take care of most of their business, it'll be in some order Scott, Norris, and Scottsbluff as the top 3 seeds heading into district finals. 67-44 our score. Off the mark. And rebounding for Scottsbluff, picking it up off the floor, is Riley Meininger. 3:35 to play here in the ball game. Nate Kelly at the 10-foot stripe. Meininger, he really set the tone early, had 8 first-quarter points.
Yeah, when Nate Kelly was struggling in the first quarter, as we said numerous times, Riley Meininger really picked up the slack.
Boswell can't get that one from long range. Hinman was posting. Get the big fella the ball down low. Kaiser goes right by Hinman. Kaiser, and that'll be an offensive foul. Nate Kelly takes the charge. Kaiser barrels through him. 4th personal on Kaiser.
13 foul on the Raiders.
Kelly and Boswell will head to the bench. That'll be it for those two today. Nate Kelly will finish with 19. Trey Boswell with 17 and the hot hand in the fourth quarter. Smiles all around the Scottsbluff bench. Riley Meininger shoots over the defender. 3-pointer off the mark. Kaiser not having his best game today, but he is one impressive athlete, isn't he?
He is. Like I said, seeing him up close, you really have to be impressed the way he's built and also his game.
Des Smith rebounds, pushes the tempo. Corner 3 wide open. It won't go for Sabala, and here comes the bench mob right now for Scottsbluff, set to check in. There's Hinman with the left hand. Ryan Hinman's got his first basket of the game. On the other end, it's Fiskus answering back. 23-point lead, 69-46. Des Smith dribbles into traffic, 2:02 to play. And here come the substitutions for both squads. Kobe Strom, Eric Sabala, George Schmall, Domingo Gomez, and Oliver Carpenter. Kozad just beat Ogallala 66-61 in the Southwest Conference Tournament Championship in Kearney.
Wow.
Nick Brose, they had Ogallala on the ropes earlier this year and gave it away. So Ogallala suffers their first loss of the season. That's an impressive victory right there. Strom on the perimeter. Will give to George Schmall. Eric Sabala shoots over Jaggers off the iron. (69-46). It'll stay with Scottsbluff. Ball goes out of bounds under the basket. Schmall, Strom, Carpenter, Sabala, Gomez. For Sidney, it's Doty, Kenobi, Jaggers, Cale Kaiser, and Reese Dorsey. Strom dribbles into the paint. Schmall outside 3-ball. George Schmall can't get it to go. And Alec Doty with the board. 80 seconds to play in this one. Reese Dorsey on the drive. That one rims out. Loose on the floor. Eric Sabala picks it up. Sabala will bring it. Eric drives it into the paint, leaves it for George Schmall with 57 seconds to play. We'll get a whistle and a foul. On the floor, the Bearcats will inbound along the baseline.
Fourth team foul on the Raiders.
Domingo Gomez, it's going up. Off the iron. Tipped out by Sidney, and Dorsey grabs the rebound.
All these second-team players for Scottsbluff got a lot of playing time over these last 3 days.
No doubt about that.
Especially Thursday.
Eric Sabala fouled on the drive to the basket with 32 seconds to play. Get some free throws here for the 5'8" sophomore.
On the Red Raiders. In for Sidney, Graham Santana.
23 points, the cushion right now. Scottsbluff up 69-46. Eric gets the second. We're under 30 seconds to play. Cale Kaiser gives it to Jaggers. Count it in a foul. Strom will be charged with the personal foul. Kyle Jaggers has come off the bench. He's a sophomore. He's got 6 points in this second half.
Scottsbluff second.
Too strong. Eric Sabala rebounds amongst the trees. And that should do it here for this one. Scottsbluff will dribble out the clock if allowed. And they will win it convincingly here today, 70-48. Oliver Carpenter will hold the basketball as the final seconds tick off the clock. Bearcats improve to 15-3. Sidney falls to 13-5. 70-48, the final score. Scottsbluff wins it over Sidney today on the West Coast scoreboard.
Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Wesco, Papa Murphy's, Team Auto Center, Riverstone Bank, and Advantage Chiropractic.
Hospital. It's the home to exceptional patient care. This is where specialty clinics meet your needs. This is where a friendly smile, a warm hand, and an empathetic ear exist to care for you. This is us. Box Butte General Hospital. Great thing.
And now to the Western Conference Basketball Tournament champions. Congratulations, Scottsbluff High School. That concludes the Western Conference Tournament here at Cougar Palace. The Western Conference appreciates your attendance at today's tournament. Please drive home safely and have a great rest of the weekend.
Alongside Jeff Kelly as we get into our Runs the Postgame show, wrapping up a 3-day bonanza here for Western Conference basketball tournament coverage. Jeff, we've had a good time with all the hoops, and we've got two Western Conference champions, the Sidney girls and the Scottsbluff boys. And really, what is there to say about Scottsbluff on the boys' side? Thoroughly dominated Sidney, took care of business really from the opening jump.
Yeah, it was definitely, they struggled just a little bit, but once they got their footing, as it was at one time 8-7 Sidney, and then Scottsbluff took a 10-8 lead. They go on a 5-0 run, and they just never looked back from that point on in the game.
We've got head coach Scott. Good work by our camera operator right there. Saw where coach was, shifted a little bit. That's excellent work right there. Coach, hey. Audible, yeah. Good play call. Hey, thoroughly dominated Sidney today, 70-48. What do you have to say about you guys?
Competitors, you know, big games, big moments. They like those times. They like those games. Defended like crazy. After that first little string, they got offensive rebound or a transition basket run out, some offensive rebounds. I thought we really just turned it around after that. It all started on the defensive end and just playing incredibly hard, and that's what you got to do in big games.
It seemed like every shot they took was off balance, leaning one direction or the other, hand in the face. You made it hard on them all game long.
Yeah, Dez, and it starts with Dez. Dez and Nate primarily, but other guys played tremendous too, just pressuring the basketball and making guys uncomfortable. But Dez was tremendous on Kaiser at the start of the game, and he brought that energy when he dove on the floor. That gets energy. Our guys got to understand that a little bit better sometimes, but he dove on the floor. That got energy. He's clapping. He gets a strip. And then Nate pressuring the basketball up top. And our guys just playing together on the defensive end too, making everything hard.
Nate came out of the gate a little out of sorts. You brought him to the bench. You subbed him out. What was that conversation like? Because from the moment he came back into the game, he was Nate Kelly again.
I thought he was trying to do too much, just forcing a little bit. I just kind of told him, hey, the drives are fine and all that, but we got to make better decisions. I thought he was forcing it to the rim and getting himself in a little trouble. And then I thought we had some guys open. Like, he got them sucked in, and then he continued to try to shoot the basketball. So just a quick little reset, and I thought he played better after that.
But while that was going on with Nate, you had Meininger lighting the nets up with 8 first-quarter points. So if it's not one guy, it's always someone else.
Yeah, it's nice to have all those guys. Riley comes up huge for us, getting baskets, and Trey starts hitting. And Nate's always going to be right there in the mix with that. And, it's really those three guys tonight. And then other guys got some baskets off dump-offs or transition stuff. But it's going to be those three guys. And if they're all hitting at the same time, it'll be tough.
18 games in, the 3 losses is all that's on the ledger. Alliance and Sidney coming up next weekend.
Yeah, huge weekend. Get to play at home.
Both days?
Just one.
Okay.
Yeah, get to go to Alliance, and then we're
home on
we're
Saturday.
Home. We're home after the Alliance game. So we'll drive over to Alliance to play.
I like that.
Then we can sit at home and get our home crowd in there, and hopefully it'll be a great environment like it always is. And but huge weekend. Alliance, they maybe struggled a little bit today and yesterday, but they've shown at times, especially on their home court, that they can play with anybody. So it's going to be a dogfight when we go over there. Tough place to play, and then get Sidney at home, and obviously last year we beat them here, and then they kind of put it to us when we went down there. So adjustments will be made, and we expect it to be just another brawl on Saturday.
For it being his first year, Jordan is doing some tremendous things at Alliance.
Yeah, Jordan is. He's a basketball junkie, just growing up. But he's doing a tremendous job with his guys. I think they play hard. I think a lot of times he's getting the right guys' shots. But, I think they've surprised some people this year with how well they've done, and a lot of that credit is to Jordan.
Hey, I know you like a good score every once in a while. I got one for you. Kozad beat Ogallala today. 66-61. And Nick had told me after they lost to him the first time, they basically handed Ogallala the game. So that's crazy. They could be 2-0 against him. I mean, instead 1-1, hand them their first loss.
Yeah, I figured that'd probably be a little intense game. Cozad had every chance to win it the first time, and it doesn't surprise me that they were able to give it a go, and this time it bounced their way.
Austin told me today before the game, he said he thinks Ogallala is going to win one either this year or next, or maybe both.
I mean, it's totally possible. I mean, they're all juniors, sophomores, really good players that play together. They're a tough team, and I think they're only going to get better, especially those sophomores. They're all juniors and sophomores, but all those guys are just going to continue to get better.
Coach, we'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk next week. Congratulations on another tourney title.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll come back with more and start to wrap things up on our postgame show right after this.
Conference basketball tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Legacy Co-op, Bunkhouse Trailer Sales, WNCC, Russell's Automotive, and Reds. Coverage of the 2025 Western Conference Basketball Tournament on KNEB.TV is brought to you by Consumers Cooperative Federal Credit Union, Western Nebraska Regional Airport, Regional West, and Pipeworks Plumbing.
Just gushing about that defensive work. That's where he makes his living and makes his name on this team. 2 points apiece for Isai Sabala and Ryan Hinman, and Eric Sabala with a late free throw. For Sidney here, kind of add them up as we go. I had Alec Doty with 11. Kean Kaiser finished with 9. 7 for Landon Riddle. Fiskus had 6. Lance Holly had 6, and Kyle Jaggers off the bench with 6, and Cash Kenobi with a late 3. So when the dust settles, really no surprise who's hoisting the championship first place medals this weekend in both brackets.
Yeah, I mean, they moved this tournament back into late January to try and get a better idea how these teams should be seeded. Of course, Scottsbluff boys the number 1 seed, and they kind of showed why they were made the number 1 seed. Very easy win Thursday night. They had an easy time on Friday, and I think if you're honest, you'd have to say they had an easy time here in this championship game despite a little bit of a slow start.
And then for the Sidney girls, we thought it was going to be more competitive than it was. Gering's taken a major step forward this year with Coach Macias and that girls program, but when the chips are down, it's hard to doubt or fade Tyler Shaw and Sidney.
No, just as we talked about that program earlier, I mean, he's got a system that he sticks to. It doesn't matter who's on that roster for Sidney. They just continue to do what they do, and Tyler Shaw's been very successful in the 19 years that he's been at Sidney, and a very tough team to beat, and the upper level girls team in the Panhandle.
Jeff will have Gering at Sidney, home for Chase County next weekend. I'll be at Alliance for Scottsbluff, and then Sidney at Scottsbluff coming up next Saturday. So we're looking forward to those doubleheaders. We're also looking forward to hitting the couch and relaxing the rest of tonight and tomorrow. I can guarantee you that. Appreciate all your work and effort the last couple of days. Trayton Harmon, great job by you. All our TV camera operators that were willing to put some time in this weekend. Great stuff all around. And again, thanks all our sponsors and, of course, everybody that was either listening or watching over the last 3 days for Western Conference Tournament basketball. Scottsbluff boys win it over Sidney handily, 70-48, and Sidney wins it big over Gering in the girls' championship game.